Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel Political Science by T. So today we will be starting with topic 2 of unit 1, that is comparative methods. So first of all we are going to study that what is the meaning of comparative method, the names of the thinkers who use the comparative method in their study, and then its features, scope and its utility and limitations as well. So let's get started. So comparative method is basically used to study the modern branch of political science, that is comparative politics. So comparative method ये होता है कि ऐसे method जो use होते हैं to study the comparative politics. Comparative politics, as we studied in our part 2 video of topic 1, that it is basically the study of the informal actors, that is the pressure groups, caste groups. It basically focus on the actualities. So that is comparative politics. So comparative method क्या है कि उन comparative politics को study करना, that is comparative method. तो exactly हम इसका meaning देख लेते हैं. It is basically the process of collecting facts, classifying, verifying them, accepting the general conclusions, which basically lead to theory building stage. And also, apart from the Greek thinkers like Cicero and Polybius, it was the famous Italian thinker Machiavelli. नेम आपने सुना होगा इनका, मैकियावेली. इन्होंने यूज़ करा था ये कंपैरेटिव मेथड in his book The Prince and the Discourses. And another thinker is Montesquieu. He also used the historical and observational method to propound the theory of separation of power between the legislature, executive and the judiciary. Apart from these, Karl Marx, de Tocqueville and Auguste Comte, they also used comparative method to understand the theoretical aspect of working of the government. उसके बाद है जो कंपैरेटिव मेथड है वो एक तरीके की इंटरडिसिप्लिनरी स्टडी है, एंड ऑल्सो द डेवलपिंग स्टेट्स दे आर ऑल्सो इंक्लूडेड अंडर इट. इट इज़ बेसिकली डिटैच्ड फ्रॉम मॉरल वैल्यूज़ and is linked to the practical work. It is an empirical, scientific and analytical study. It is not a normative aspect. Then these are the two definitions. Like according to G.K. Robert, a method of analysis which is used in political science to classify, describe, explain data by making the observations of the similarities and differences to be found in various items under analysis. After introduction, you can write these two definitions. It will fetch you good marks. Then, according to Alan L. Larson, the function of comparative method is to identify uniformities and differences and to explain them. Then comes the factors which were responsible for the rise of this comparative method. As we know कि जो comparative government थी, that is a traditional branch, it has a narrower scope. So there was a need to widen the scope. So that's why comparative method was used to study the comparative politics. Then the need to study the realities. As we know, the traditional approach that was formal and it was basically based on the normative aspect, but comparative method was used as it was analytical theory and focuses on the behavioral aspects, focuses on the actualities. So that's why there was the need to study the reality on a scientific, empirical, analytical basis. So comparative method was used. Then comes emphasis on precision. The comparative method, it focuses on the new strategies and methods to explain the new phenomena. So it emphasizes on the precisions and all. To make the subject dynamic, the traditional branch of political science made political science as a static subject, as it was not open to the changes, but the comparative politics, using comparative method, it made the subject dynamic. Features or prerequisites of comparative method. So these are the basic things or basic prerequisites which are required for comparative method. First one is a selection of a comparable issue. जिस इशू को कंपेयर करना है वो इशू को पहले सिलेक्ट करना है. उसके बाद सिमिलैरिटी ऑफ कंपैरिजन, देयर शुड बी सम सिमिलैरिटी between the chosen comparable issue. Then main characteristic, again comparison होना चाहिए उनके बीच, comparison करना is main characteristic है. Then come inductive and intense method. इसमें वो बेसिकली इन्वॉल्व करते हैं टेस्टिंग द स्टेटमेंट्स इन द लाइट ऑफ एक्सपीरियंसेस, और उन्हीं के एक्सपीरियंसेस के बेसिस पे ही एविडेंस कलेक्ट होते हैं, and they are analyzed and compared. To form the hypothesis is also a basic prerequisite, that is to draw conclusion or assumption. It is basically prepared for getting an answer, and also इसी के basis पे जो facts हैं they are collected and examined, and then finally the conclusions they are drawn. Theory building. After all these steps, forming the hypothesis, finally the theory is built. Conclusions are then they are drawn regarding what need to be done, on what basis facts are discussed, their deliberation, and then finally there comes the theory building stage. Then comes the scope of comparative method. It is both the horizontal and vertical comparison, as कंपेयर करना डिफरेंट पॉलिटिकल सिस्टम को हॉरिजॉन्टल कंपैरिजन है, और वर्टिकल कंपैरिजन है कि एक पर्टिकुलर पॉलिटिकल सिस्टम को कंपेयर करना विद इन itself. So that is vertical comparison. This flowchart you can make comparison of infrastructure कि different political system के जो different like religious groups हो गए, caste groups हो गए, linguistic groups हो गए, these all consist of the infrastructure, basically the informal actors. Then comparative study of political structure, as the name suggests कि compare करना है, तो comparative study तो है ही है political structures की, कि like किसी country में पार्लियामेंट्री फॉर्म ऑफ डेमोक्रेसी, पार्लियामेंट्री फॉर्म ऑफ सिस्टम है, किसी में प्रेसिडेंशियल है, तो उनको कंपेयर करना कि वहाँ पे गवर्नमेंट कैसी है और लोग कैसे रह रहे हैं, लाइक दैट इज कंपैरिजन ऑफ डिफरेंट पॉलिटिकल सिस्टम. इट बेसिकली इंक्लूड ऑल द फॉर्मल एंड नॉन फॉर्मल एक्टर्स, और ये कंपेयर करके जो सब्जेक्ट की स्कोप होती है उसको वाइड करने में हेल्प करते हैं. Study of formal as an informal actors, as we have already studied. Then comes the utility of comparative method. Theory building is possible here, as after selection of comparable issue, then similarity of comparison, then the main characteristic, inductive and intense method, and finally forming the hypothesis, the theory is built based on these things. Help to understand the role of the structures, as it is an analytical study, so it makes an analytical and empirical analysis of the political system and structures. Micro level as well as macro level study. It basically compare the different political structures or political system from the micro level to its macro level, and no unit can be ignored in while studying the comparative method. Then comes the study of human behavior is possible here, as हमें पता है कि ह्यूमन बींग्स होते हैं जब वो फिकल होते हैं बाय नेचर, यानी चेंज होते रहते हैं, बट ह्यूमन बींग का जो इन्फ्लुएंस होता है इन वर्किंग ऑफ इंस्टीट्यूशन पे, इट इज़ ऑल्सो possible to understand that generalizations they become possible. Scientific systematic study scope has been widened. Limitations इसमें है प्रॉब्लम्स ऑफ फाइंडिंग फैक्ट्स को फाइंड करने में प्रॉब्लम होती है एज द चेंज ड्यू टू द चेंजिंग नेचर ऑफ मैन. कन्फ्यूजन ऑफ न्यू टर्मिनोलॉजी, न्यू कॉन्सेप्ट जो ऐड होते हैं बाय डिफरेंट पॉलिटिकल साइंटिस्ट, so they lack unanimity and they become an obstacle in the way of comparative method. Too wide a scope, it has made this scope of political science too wide. Then there is a lack of means, adequate tools to accumulate the data. Impossible to predict human behavior as it keeps on changing with changing times. Problem of classification of units. There is no proper classification of the units which need to be needed first, then after that what will be needed. So yeah, that's it for this video. If you like the content, do subscribe the channel and don't forget to hit that like button, and also share this video with your friends, it will help them too. Thank you so much for turning in. Thank you so much for your time.